I think we're now. I think we're now live, Charlie. So
Okay.
welcome to you people who are already with the Bradford Textile Society. I'm delighted to have you all here this evening. What I'm going to do at 7:30, rather than go straight into Charlie's presentation, is I'm going to give you an indication of some of the delegates that are watching the lecture this evening. I'm sure you'll be surprised at the diversity of the people that we have. It's been good to see the different people that have joined. Our membership of the Bradford Textile Society has almost doubled in the last 6 months as we've opened up the gates to knitters. Other societies like the Quilt Society have joined. The Valley Blacknose Sheep Society have joined. We've had felters, artists, weavers, handloom weavers. Lots of different people are now part of the Bradford Textile Society. And that's been the whole essence behind what I've tried to do as president, is to open up the membership and to get a more diverse membership. You'll be aware of the Bradford Textile Society Phoenix project. And what we're doing there is trying to encourage students, apprentices, young managers to get involved for a nominal fee for a £5 a year subscription, which allows them to attend the meetings. We currently have 9 members of the BTS Phoenix project, and Rebecca's going to set up a WhatsApp whereby they can communicate with themselves and organise 1 or 2 meetings on their own each year. The vision there is that the young people that are coming into the industry, rather than getting totally involved in what the society does, can start to have their own groups, their own meetings, go meet in a cafe, meet in a restaurant somewhere, and start to kindle the interest to make sure that the Bradford Textile Society is sustained and grown over the years to come. It's been quite encouraging. We had our first meeting at Salts Mill where we had 13 members. The membership has dropped to 9. And what I'd like to say is if there's anyone listening, any students, the students from Bradford School of Art, the students from London College of Fashion, would be delighted for you students to take out a £5 subscription and join the Phoenix project. The ideal scenario would be to have 20 or 30 members that work together on a WhatsApp communication and almost control their own meeting group around the country. So that's something that if you're interested, contact either Tammy, the secretary, or contact myself, and we'll carry that forward. So we've got nearly 40 attendees just now. So what I'll do is I'll start to introduce the attendees. We can't see you. That's one of the things with working on Zoom. Charlie and I can see each other, but we can't see the guests. We can't see the delegates that are watching Charlie's lecture. But what I'd like to say is that I'm delighted to have the students from Bradford College of Art. I'm delighted to have Andrea Noble from Hainsworth, who's invited the London College of Fashion to come along. I hope there's a lot of students come there. And as I said earlier, please join the Bradford Textile Society Phoenix project. We've got next month's lecturer, Simon Cotton from McNaughton Holdings on board. We've got Connie Gray from Gray Art Gallery, who's talking to us in April. She's watching us. We've got members of the Valley Blacknose Sheep Society who have joined us. And I'm working on a project there with Jenny Campbell and Elsie Hughes to develop product from the fleeces of the Valley Blacknose sheep, which is something that before may not have been considered by the Bradford Textile Society. We've got Harriet Pollitt-Brigg from Holland and Sherry. Harriet came through the Bradford Textile Society looking for employment. We've managed to help her get a job at Abraham Moon. And within the last few weeks, Harriet has joined Holland and Sherry as junior designer. Hi, Harriet. We've also got, for some of the members of the Bradford Textile Society who remember the National Wool Textile Export Corporation, we have Charlotte Heap watching us. Charlotte now works for Priestley Academy in education, but she has joined the Bradford Textile Society because she has an interest in textiles and what we're doing going forward. So you can see that the membership is diverse. The other one I've got down here, and I'm going to mention you, Vanessa. Vanessa is with Phoenix Textiles in Huddersfield, doing interiors and drapes. So a very, very diverse audience tonight watching you, Charlie, and listening to what you've got to say. So Charlie and I have known each other for over 30 years. And for those of you that are not aware, the song by Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder, Ebony and Ivory, was written for Charlie and I, living together in perfect harmony, haven't we?
Yeah, just a few
We've been good friends for
evenings.
we've been good friends for many, many years. Some of the projects we've worked on were with Parkland Textiles when for 10 years in the 90s. I was sales design director for Parkland. Charlie did some work with us there. When I was president the last time of the Bradford Textile Society in 2004, Charlie attended our dinner. So 21 years ago, Charlie was involved with the Bradford Textile Society. We've worked with Marks and Spencers, creating. Charlie made me some outfits that I wore when I was selling cloth, because what I used to do was try and get a cloth, get it made into a suit, and then sell the idea, sell the concept to M&S. We've worked with a company in Leeds, Scopes Menswear. Charlie did some design work with them. We've worked with Harrods, with the most expensive suit or jacket in the world. And we did some work with C&J Antage over in Huddersfield. So there's been a lot of projects that we've worked on together over the last 20, 30 years. We also tried to introduce textiles to Ethiopia. We had a delegation from the Ethiopian government over in UK, in Huddersfield. We took them to the Textile Centre of Excellence. We took them to Huddersfield University, and we tried, with a company that we christened Ethotex, we tried to introduce textiles as a craft into Ethiopia. So the weaver and the tailor have known each other for many, many years. I mean, one of the favourite times, Charlie, was we used to meet at Premier Vision. Premier Vision's next month, the 11th to the 14th of February. So it'll be interesting to see who goes to Premier Vision on Valentine's Day. I'm sure that'll cause a few eruptions in the domestic scenario. But Charlie and I used to meet at the little restaurants at the end of the metro at Gare du Nord and spend many a happy evening in Paris. Charlie, I've known you, as I say, for 30 years. It's been a pleasure knowing you, and I'm looking forward so much to your lecture on the career of Charlie Allen. So if I can pass over to you now, Charlie, and run through your presentation. And for everybody that's watching, you'll see on your Zoom, there's a Q&A section. Ask any questions, and what I'll be doing, I'll be taking a note of the questions. And at the end of Charlie's presentation, we'll have a Q&A session with Charlie, and we'll ask him some questions. And if you have anything else to say, put something in the chats. Tammy will be checking on the chat. So welcome, everyone, to the Bradford Textile Society lecture series and Charlie Allen's presentation, Crafting Creativity.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Malcolm, for that wonderful introduction. It's quite scary, actually, when you talk about 30 years. This is actually my 40th year in business. And it's funny, when you say, I'd like you to talk about yourself, I thought, wow, where do I start? Because there's quite a lot to talk about since 1984 when I started. So here we go. I'll just run through 40 years in 20 minutes, hopefully. So I thought I should start about my family, which is a tailoring family. I've got a tailoring background of my father and my mother actually making clothing. So I had to be a tailor. And I'm one of 9 children who all had to be tailors. So from day one, I started making clothing. And after 16 years of making clothing, I went to the Royal College of Art and studied design, which is really when I started being creative. I could always make clothes, but being creative came from college. So what I like to talk about is a little bit of what's happened to me since leaving college. College was a great educator for me because I learned about the history of fashion, the history of making cloth, and with that, it helped me start my own business. When I left college, there were hardly any jobs, so I had to be. I was made to be self-employed. I didn't really want to be self-employed, but that's the way that life was in the 80s. The first sort of tough time in business. So I couldn't get a job, so I started my own in the kitchen after meeting all the other my contemporaries who literally started their own businesses as well, and you could do in the 80s. So some people like Jasper Conran and Catherine Hamlet, which are here, my colleagues, and we started the small designer collections in the 80s, and we showed in Paris and Japan and New York. So these are just a few pictures of them. So I really, I think it was the most creative time for me because I used fabrics that we could that you could buy in small shops, small retailers that had ends of lines, and we would put them together, not knowing how we would get the production. But we sold such small amounts, like 10s, 20s, to boutique stores all around the world. And this collection I did here, my final collection, was actually sold in New York and in Los Angeles in a company called Wills Blashford. And it was all evening wear. And the one store I sold to in England was Jones in the King's Road, but it had an international audience. So all the garments that I did actually got quite a good attendance in terms of people visiting London, shop owners visiting London. So these are a couple of the outfits that we did. So my real speciality, when you're developing, you realize how can I be creative? And I always had small lengths of cloth, which I bought from these stores that I'm talking about now. And I would make garments which were mixtures of tweeds and cottons. And people used to say to me, how did you get this creativeness? And basically it came from using small ends of cloth, rolls of cloth, and mixing them together. So you've got wool, cashmere, it could have cotton, all in one garment, and a bit of silk. And I still do that to this day, which is, garments that you wouldn't normally see, soft garments that are structured with tailoring. And then you have sweatshirting, for instance, which is tailored. And then you would have wool, which I would actually soften up by not putting any interlining in it at all. And one of my best-selling garments was the Charlie Allen cardigan, which I actually named it after Perry Como, which has a dolman sleeve, which you can see in this photograph here. Well, again, this was one of my very first drawings in the 80s, 1980. And I actually made these garments and made it into L'Uomo Vogue. I don't know if any of you remember this. This was really early days. And you can see from the picture, my brother and my dad. And at the top there, you've got Paul Smith, a very young Paul Smith as well. He's older than me, by the way. And I was 24 at the time. So it was a fantastic time for being creative. And we had such a good time showing in Paris. And New York. Can't believe I started the same time as Paul Smith did. So again, here's some pictures of my mixing of fabrics. So I've got herringbone tweed there, which is actually from Abraham Moon, and brush cotton from at the time, I can't remember. I think it was actually from Abraham Moon as well, and mixing it with leather on the coats. So again, they were really small runs. I think we made something like 50 of them, but they were quite expensive at the time. Using Yorkshire tweed and leather together was really something new. And most of these designs got knocked off anyway, but I was the originator of them, which is I'm quite proud of. So if there was any new fabrics, I would always get first dibs, so to speak. And in the very early days, we worked with Reed and Taylor. Reed and Taylor used to make the most expensive cloth in England. Oh, in fact, the world. In fact, it was advertised as the most expensive cloth in the world. And you had to be very special to be invited to use their cloth, which I was. And he would have these amazing shows all over the world. And this one was in Edinburgh Castle. And the guest of honor, of course, was Prince Philip at this reception. And there's 4 or 5 real big international designers and young me actually using this Reed and Taylor fabric, which I'm still to this day, I still have some of the cloth. It was that fabulous. So moving on from there, I literally have been using fabrics that are, I mean, unbelievably expensive. And one of them was from Holland and Sherry, which is Vicuna, which I'm sure a lot of you know about, which is in the thousands. I think it's something like £3,000 a meter. I have a length of that, which I actually made up into a jacket here, which is so expensive no one can afford to buy it from me. But it would be about £9,000 if it was for sale. And fabrics from Holland and Sherry goes into gold stripe, gold lame, and most of it has been used for the Arab market because they were the ones who could afford it. So all made in my tiny workshop. Well, it's not tiny, in Islington, which you'd be surprised at who has been to this workshop since I opened it in 1992. So if anyone wants to come and have a look, they're welcome to. So this is the showroom which customers come to. So if you have a look, you can see that everything is actually made on the premises. I haven't got pictures of the workshop, but the showroom is quite impressive when you come to see it. And we have a vast range of customer base. Some of the customers literally are superstars or footballers, but the best, I've had a couple of very, very interesting jobs over the last few years. And 10 years ago, I actually had a job with the FA, which was to design a football kit, which I'm quite honored to do for Umbro and Nike. Nike actually said, we want someone who can understand the football philosophy and culture, is a tailor and understand fabrics. So I ticked all the boxes and I literally got this amazing job, which is to design football kits, not suits, but football kits for the English football team. And my input was they said, what would you do? And I said, I'd design a kit where it was made to measure, as if I was tailoring for each player. So each kit was designed and made as bespoke. That's one of the best things I've ever done and proudest things I've ever done. But on top of that, from the strength of doing that, I had lots of offers for designing football kits, including my favourite team, which is Arsenal, which a lot of people don't know, but not suits, but kits. So going on from there, I literally, on the strength of it, designed ranges for Marks and Spencer's, going to Aquascutum, Austin Reed. I'm trying to think of all the names that I've designed for from the 80s to today. Trying to think of other names, but fairly well-known companies. So one of my favorite jobs was to design for one of my heroes, which is, I don't know if you can see who this is, but it's Robert De Niro. And this was for an advert for Warburtons. Warburtons have an amazing budget for getting celebrities in, but this was influenced by Casino, which Robert De Niro was actually in, and they wanted him to wear an orange suit. And the theme for Warburtons has always been orange. And I literally had to find this fabric, which was part of the range designed by Standeven, woven by Standeven, which is the Carnival range, which is mohair and wool, which is absolutely fabulous cloth. And I think Robert still has this suit. And they say you should never meet your heroes, but I was gobsmacked that I spent so much time with this guy, all because of clothing. I also do quite a few films, a lot of film work, which hasn't come up yet. Am I too fast? I'm wondering. Oh. This is a film I did for Steve McQueen, which was a company called Small Axe. The film was actually called Small Axe, which was about a friend of mine who I went to school with, and he used to wear my clothing, and he was part of the film that was filmed in the early 80s. It was all about the early 80s. And I was part of that early 80s scene. And if you look at this, he's actually wearing one of the cardigans that I designed. And as a school friend, he used to wear that. And so being portrayed in the film, they actually got me to use some of my old designs, which was, again, using Abraham Moon tweed, Yorkshire tweed, and mixing it with sweatshirting and shark skin fabrics, which again was from Holland and Sherry. So it was sort of history repeating itself. But over 30 years. So my main business, as I said, is doing tailoring, which bespoke tailoring is sustainable. So by its very nature, I've been, how can I put it? What is the word? Not sustainable, more of a, lost for words here, in keeping with the way that business is going.
Eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
You've always been trying to make sure you were working with natural fibers.
Yeah, that's right. I don't really use any synthetics. And it's just happened that way. I've been lucky that I've been able to keep this going, as it's a dying art now, which is a shame, because there's so much, people that want to get involved with it, but it's very expensive to do. It's become a luxury, so to speak. But I still love doing it that way. And most of the suits in Savile Row are made that way. But you use the best fabrics that you can possibly use, because it's made to last forever, and you should really hand it down to the next generation. So most of the suits we make, we've seen over the last 30 years come back to and fro, been taken in, let out, upcycled, so to speak, which is the bit that I love the most and the core of my business.
Charlie, when you're on that slide, could you go back to that slide, Charlie?
Yeah.
When you're on that slide, remembering that we've got a lot of students from London College of Fashion.
Oh, right. Oh, yes, I would know.
Could you talk a little bit about your fusibles, your linings, your stitching?
Right, yeah.
As you've taught me, the use of horsehair and different linings, different fusibles.
That's right.
The cloth can make a fantastic difference. If you could talk for a while on the construction of your garments, that would be good.
Yes, I'd love to. I mean, most of our garments, when we make for a customer, has 2 to 3 fittings. So the first stage that we're working on here is you would make it without any pockets in, and it would just be one piece of canvas inside. So what we do, we start off that way, and then we literally build the chest and put padding, and the chest is made out of horsehair and demet, and you've got a bit of wool canvas as well. So it's all layered and built on the customer. And we also have what is called inlay, which are massive seams inside, so that the jacket could be altered, it could be let out, lengthened, and also taken in. So it's a labor of love, all done by hand, pad stitched, basted. The buttonholes are made by hand, the lining is put in by hand, and basically that's what you're paying for. If you look at most of our suits, they're all handmade. So, yeah.
Somebody once said to me, I was at a conference, Charlie, and they were talking about you mentioned that you made for Marks and Spencer's. They were talking about the £150 suit. It's still £150, 30 years later. But unfortunately, back in the 90s, the cloth would be woven by Parkland or Drummond's. The suit was made up in the Northeast by Dewhurst, whereas now they're made in China and Vietnam. So while the price is the same, the actual components and construction is completely different. Have you found it difficult, as the market has changed from a price point of view, to sustain the interest in bespoke tailoring?
Yes, I mean, thank God for the internet, because that has educated a lot of our punters who have studied tailoring through the internet and realized that true bespoke is the way forward, because of the craftsmanship. And a lot of men have now looked into the way that suits were made, in the 50s, through buying secondhand clothing and realizing the weight is different. And the new suits are much lighter because they've taken out all the stuffing out of the suits. So most of our suits are made in the old-fashioned way. So they're quite weighty. It's all to do with weight. A lot of people associate it with value. If you see a suit that is, it looks the same from the outside, but when you pick it up and you feel the weight, you just say, this is a proper tailored suit. So that the biggest difference is the price, not only the price, but the actual construction. I mean, the suits that are made in China are not necessarily made to last forever, but most of our suits are designed to last forever, and that's why they cost what they cost. Cost cutting.
One of the points, it was interesting, Charlie, that you mentioned there about the weighted cloth. One of the things I found is some mills started to go lighter and lighter with finer and finer yarns, 2-fold 96s, 2-fold 100s. And the weights went down to 6, 7, 8 ounces. And in many cases, the cloth fabric was too light for the fusibles, the linings, and the stitching. Did you find that the ideal weight was a certain, say, 300 to 350 grams?
That's right, yeah. I mean, for tailoring, for hand tailoring, it's got to be 350, around 350, 400 would be perfect. But the really lightweight ones have to be fused and made in a factory and engineered, because it can't accommodate the handwork, the handling that you need to make a garment, structure a garment. I mean, some of those are shirting weights when you think about them, 170s. So no, we prefer to work with a heavier cloth on the tailoring side. So yeah. So we actually make quite a lot of tweeds into shirt constructions. So a lot of our garments are here. The Gemmel is made from tweed, but made like a shirt. So all the stuffing is taken out of it. It's a hybrid garment, so it's not a jacket and it's not a shirt. It's a mixture of both. And this is the way forward, I think, in tailoring now. which is a much more relaxed and luxurious fabrics that, the man who's got every suit possible wants to move away from the structured, formal look, not just for weekends, but for work. And a lot of that's come because of, COVID and working at home and realizing they don't have to be as formal anymore. And we find we're making more and more of this luxury bespoke. And I definitely think that's the future, definitely the way forward. So we've really dined out on using, tweeds and sweatshirting and suiting made in a casual way. So if you look at these garments, they've got the structure, but all the stuffing is taken out. There's no shoulder pads. You've got shirt cuffs, you've got knitted cuffs. And we use a lot of Japanese cloth and shirtings, which you would never normally see made up into a structured form.
Charlie, that was excellent. A fantastic run through your work and what you've been working on over the years. And I know your passion for Arsenal Football Club. You've always been a football fan. In fact, I remember one night you invited me to go and see Arsenal, and I had as much interest as. But you've done a lot of work with these. Questions, Charlie, that have come through from the audience. Patricia Cook has asked your opinion on starting up your business, because whenever you start your own business, it's always a difficult experience. And I know, talking to, for instance, Elsie Hughes, who's working with Valley Blacknose, who's starting her weaving business, and other people are starting their own business. It's never an easy time. But do you feel it was easier when you did it back in the 80s?
Definitely.
Youngsters today? And why?
Right. Number one, you could get credit, which is very difficult to get today, because you could go to a bank and get a loan, which was one thing, but that didn't really help you as much. You could get a collection together, but if you ever sold any, you would need to buy like 100 meters of cloth, and then all your budget would be blown straight away. So getting 60 days to pay for some cloth, or 90 days, you could actually make it up and sell it and get paid and carry on, which is almost impossible these days. You have to have an amazing budget to start your business off. So it's much easier. It was much easier then. And now you definitely have to have major investment to start a company. So I wouldn't recommend it unless you've got money in the bank for enough for 18 months at least, without making a penny. That's what you need now.
It's a frightening state of affairs, isn't it? Because if that was today, the likes of Jasper Conran, Paul Smith, Catherine Hamnet would not have passed the go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Pat was also asking about the recycled fibres. Do you ever consider using recycled wool?
Yes, we do. We do. We give a lot to recyclers who, I forgot the terminology, reconstitute it, and then boil it, and it's actually quite a nice fiber. We've been doing some with Sue, Nick. I don't know if you met her, and it's actually very, very good because it's sustainable and it's got a good story. So we use it quite a lot in our sportswear.
That's good. I think one of the things with sustainability, Charlie, which you mentioned a couple of times, people think it's brand new. But I can remember the boy, the rag and bone man, going round the houses getting rags. I can remember when I worked at West Riding Fabrics, Holmes and Mitchell were all recycled, and it was often harder to design with these cloths because
Yeah.
you had to use rags to create
Yeah.
colours. All the different reds and all the different.
Yeah.
And people nowadays think, I mean, what was it somebody once said to me? One day we're going to be 100% recycled polyester. How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Tammy's just come on.
Yeah.
Tammy, the reason I didn't send you a message was I knew you would do it. Tammy, I think, has got your 2 slides,
Oh, okay.
sadly, that we're missing. So I don't know how the technology works, Tammy, but if you can
Uh-huh.
get these onto the screen, that would be good so that Charlie can talk about the 2 films that he worked on.
Yeah.
While
Yeah.
Tammy's trying to get these up on the screen, Bill Skidmore has asked if you've ever used a fibre called Quiverwick. Now,
Quivering.
Quiverwick is from muskox. And there used to be a shop in New York, Charlie, and that's all it sold with jumpers and throws and scarves from this huge big muskox.
Muscat.
Yeah,
I have to admit, I've never heard of it. Quivering.
I thought that was going to be the answer, Bill, because very few people
Quivering.
know the muskox. But it is a beautiful fibre, very, very fine and very, very expensive. So James Hill, who's one of our guests, has asked about your Gamel cardigans, Charlie.
Right.
Cashmere, wool cotton. What sort of composition were your cardigans?
Right. They were, well, mixture of Abraham Moon, which is Yorkshire tweed, which is a softer handle than Harris, and mixing the fabric with sweatshirting. It's not actually mixed in the yarn, but panels. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's good.
I think.
Can I touch it?
There. Stop there.
There.
There's the war button one because that was missing as well.
Yeah.
That is fantastic when you see the advert. That Robert De Niro was selling bagels.
Yeah, which was quite well. As I said, it was wonderful, wonderful job. But that's Standoven fabric, which was all handmade. Sorry. Right, you've got it. You've got it. I can see. Right, there's Henry Kissinger and Golda Meir, and I mean that suit is all padded, which is another one of our specialities where you can form someone's body through making bespoke. Yeah, there you go, and that's yeah, there we go. That's Stephen Ward again making 60s suits. I don't know if anyone's seen this film, but it was Empire Lights costumes for that film, making the shirts that would have been worn in the 60s. Right, here we go. And as I said, that was me for John Boyega in the Stephen McQueen film, Eulogy. Right. Oh yeah.
That's good. But at least we've all seen all the slides, Charlie.
Yeah.
Because we would not let a technical hitch overcome it. One of the things, just for the audience, when I was down visiting Charlie one time, I recognised this guy who was in the Charlie's shop, and it was the drummer from Pink Floyd, Nick Mason.
Yeah.
And that was amazing, wasn't it? So Pink Floyd, I mean, because you've done a lot of work for the superstars as well, haven't you?
Yeah. And well, there's a lot that you can't talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like royalty as well.
I got into trouble for that once. I sold some. I'm not going to mention anybody's
No
name
need.
ever again. But the cloth you mentioned earlier on there, the jacket behind you, was sold to a certain person. And in my quest for publicity and to sell more, I mentioned it, and I was not flavour of the month at all because, as you say, they don't want to know what they wear, what they spend, etc., etc.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got a question from William Gaunt, Charlie, who was our speaker last October. Charlie, when you're designing, do you start with a cloth or do you start with a model?
Right. I mean, designing, definitely starting with the cloth because that's 50% of the actual garment. So how it would drape. When I look at cloth, I can see what I would make into it, and how it would handle being made up. So that has got to be the way to start. But when I'm making for, a customer, they they start off with how they want to look. So I would choose a cloth for them. So it's a different process where, you can tell someone of a certain size that they shouldn't have a really flimsy cloth, or they need more structure. Whereas if you're designing for, a particular market or younger market, so to speak, and they can handle garments that are made in lighter fabrics that they can be thrown around, and they don't want to keep them forever. So the cloth is, the way I start when designing.
Okay. A comment here from David Gallimore. David didn't realize that Robert De Niro had worn his fabric, because David, part of the SEAL group, is Stan Deven. And a big thank you, Charlie, for using their cloth. And if we can have a copy of the image. Well, as your new manager, I will negotiate a fee.
Well, but yeah, I could name drop a few. I mean, when I made uniforms and suits for the Arsenal, for instance, I use Alfred Brown fabrics. I use a lot of, I try and use English fabrics because they're really quite hard wearing, which you need for, uniforms that are made to last. I use a lot of Fox Brothers because, again, it's been made in a traditional way and made to last. Whereas the Italians are fabrics that I use much more, how can I put it, luxurious, but at the same time delicate. But horses for courses.
Jasmine Lindo Clark has asked a question. Charlie, have you ever considered a diffusion line for the high street under your own name?
Yes, I have. I mean, this is the bread and butter now of a design company. That's what keeps the wolves from the door, so to speak. You have to do the consultancy work. I mean, I don't actually make for these stores. I design for them, and then they get them produced, in China, or for one of a better place, in Morocco, all over the world, to hit their price points. So my main objective is to use my name to sell a certain category or class of garment, but made affordable by the factories that the companies use. Yeah.
Okay. Have we any more questions? That's all the questions that have come through on the Q&A session, everyone. If there's any more questions, then get them through quickly. Charlie, as you spoke, what I thought was funny, you talk about the 40 odd years that you've been working and the time that we've been in the industry, and you mentioned Perry Como.
Yeah. Oh, no, don't know anybody who know who that is.
Thinking that probably 80%, that old 80-20 adage, 80% of the people would not know who Perry Como was.
Yeah, but he is famous for wearing cardigans.
Or the magic moments that Perry Como used to sing about. What you should do, all you youngsters and students and Harriet and Vanessa, is go on YouTube and Google, or not Google, but YouTube Perry Como singing Magic Moments. You'll love it. That's the music that Charlie and I were brought up in. Williams asked another question, Charlie. You've mentioned about your grandfather, your father, and you being in the tailoring business. Have any of your siblings, have any of your children taken up tailoring?
No, which is a disappointment because they say it's much too difficult. My son is actually a chef, of all things, and which is much harder than being a designer or a tailor. But they never want to do what their parents do. I don't know if you found that, but they find that we can do much better, so they they don't do it. But our family, I've got 5 tailors in it at the moment, so they don't really want to be involved in it. They want to get away from it as quickly as possible.
I remember I met your son in the office and your daughter. They both tried it a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They had a little dabble.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm a strict teacher, but they just can't handle it.
Mm. Going back to that question about working for some of the high street retailers, do you think I mean, obviously you have to do it because it pays the bills, it pays the wages. Do you think it could be a detrimental thing to do
I
if
think,
if you see your name in a supermarket? Because one of the things that I've seen when a supermarket takes on a name, it tends to devalue your
yeah,
concept or your perception of that
yeah,
brand.
yeah. I mean, it's if you do it on a long-term basis, it definitely will destroy your name. But if you look at it, they do it for one season. Like H&M did it with, Karl Lagerfeld, for instance, and they're a big enough name to carry it off. But if you're a tiny, small concern, I don't think it's advisable because it's bigger than you. These high street names are much bigger than you, and they can devalue your name. So
Yeah.
to do it for a short period of time is the only way, not as a constant.
And an anonymous question, which is always
Mm.
an interesting one, Charlie. What are
No.
your design inspirations day to day? What do you find inspires you when you're working on new things? Is it your customer? Is it the fabric? Is it
Well, the customer I look at as a character. We have quite a lot of eccentric customers, and if they're really, really eccentric, I actually name the garment after them. So, the way that I talk about the Pericoma, I had a Cap Callaway. The Gemmell is actually named after one of my customers, the Gemmell shirt jacket. And there's a few, like the film John Boyega was in, it's called a Boyega jacket now. So it is influence. I get my influence from people, characters. And I mean, the world is full of characters, so they come in and tell you what they want because you're actually being a consultant to that person's character.
good? And here's an interesting one. Philippa Pemberton's asked, do you take on the fact that you've no children coming into the business? Do you take on apprentices? Now,
Yes.
apprenticeship, I believe, is coming back. I mean, my son and daughter have both left school and they're both
Yeah.
apprenticeships. And my son is doing an electrician's apprenticeship, and he came round tonight proud as punch with his toolbox and what he was learning and whatever. And I remember, well, I did an apprenticeship. You did the apprenticeship, Charlie.
Yeah.
Is the apprenticeship in tailoring still a viable opportunity? For instance, on Savile Row, will there be a few apprentices working down there?
Oh yes. Each company would have at least 2 or 3 apprentices. I mean, now it's a 7-year apprenticeship if you were to do full bespoke. So most of the apprentices fall by the wayside after 2 or 3 years. But still, if you really love it, you will go, and become a fully fledged tailor, so to speak. But there's lots of designers around, but not people who really want to use their hands and make. So there's fewer. And I think as time goes by, they'll become more and more valuable. So I think there is a future in it. I mean, even for theatre work, and for odd sizes, there'll always be a custom tailor at hand, and you'll always get work. I mean, even now, where it's die and breed, if you were to be you could actually make a living just making suits still.
Okay. Caroline Hodgson has asked, what would you recommend is the best way for a youngster to approach the apprenticeship? What's the best thing for them to do? Just to write to tailors?
Well, they do. You get lots of letters. I get lots of letters, but the ones who really, really want to do it and are really keen, they would, get on their bikes or a bus or train and go and meet their heroes of in tailoring. If they study or do some research, they'll find that the really good companies will take you on if you're determined to do it.
Yeah,
You know, determination. I never just say, yeah, you can do it. If they call me up 2 or 3 times, then I'll see them.
that's good.
Yeah.
There's a comment here from Owen Ramsey, who you obviously know, Charlie. He says, "Hi, Charlie. I still have my Perro Como cardigan.
Oh no.
It will still fit me. Would love to make a suit for, but who would you love to make a suit for that haven't yet had the opportunity? Have you got any ideal customer that would help and help your image?"
Wow. Uh, Obviously, footballers of all retired footballer Terry Henry, I would love to make a suit for. He's very strange because he doesn't actually wear any brands. No one knows what he wears, and it's very hard to get hold of to make a suit for. But before him, there was David Bowie. I always wanted to make a suit, but he's no longer with us. No, but it's strange because I've been very lucky that people have approached me that I've always thought were, would be a fantastic customer. But if I was to go out and try and get one, it would be Terry Henry because he carries off a suit really well, and he's one of my heroes. So
Charlie and I, one night, with Charlie and I had met after a function, and we met George Best. Remember, Charlie?
yes. Do you remember who George Best is?
And I just thought that as I said it, you wouldn't remember.
Yeah, not there with Perry Como.
One more question. Vanessa Yoxo-Gallic has asked, when you're working for retailers, do you have any input on what the fabric may be? Or do you have to create something at a price with the cloth that they've bought and do what they've told you to do?
Yeah.
Very much price. I remember looking at Sainsbury's, or was it Asda, where they had the £89 suit, including a shirt, a tie, and a pair of shoes.
No.
Did you get involved at all with the construction?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Which is very nice of them when you do these consultancy jobs, where they say, what would you do? And of course, I pick a wool that's got 10% cashmere in it. It's got a nice handle, and the color is fantastic, the weight, and they try and recreate that look using a poly wool, which is piece dyed and half the weight, with all the picks and ends out of it, just to get that look. So you do have an influence. You always try and make it the ultimate, and these guys rip it off. That's the way it works to hit the price point. There's no other way of doing it. But ideally, I make the first sample in the ultimate fabric, always.
And a question from me, Charlie, how have you found it? I mentioned earlier on about the Northeast, how we had the Velmores in over near Liverpool, we had Claremont and Dewhurst up in the Northeast. How have you found life changed since everything started to go to Vietnam, Mauritius, China, India? What's the difference in the market since you and I
Well,
together to how it is today?
yeah, well, we're not very competitive, I have to say, because we just can't make our labor cost any cheaper by, making garments here. It will be totally unaffordable. So it's by the nature of the beast, you have to make it abroad, which is really sad. And that's why there's more bespoke tailoring surviving than mass production in England. I mean, there used to be Chester Barry, but it's now Lutwich. They just can't afford to keep going here. And if they did, they would be taken over by, a Chinese company. The way that weaving and manufacturing of cloth has to go abroad. But you make the ultimate here, and then it'll be knocked off in China and India. The way
remember back in the day, Charlie, when you had Hepworths, you had Burton, you had John Collier. You remember the advert on the television? John Collier, the windows.
I know, but that's all.
Advertising.
That was next, John Collier. Yeah,
they became next.
Yeah, but it's the same with fabrics. Reed and Taylor's made in India now.
Yeah.
There's still.
Now, in fact, they went bust in India. Can you believe that? Because I lived in Langham and I knew John Packer.
Yeah.
And Princess Margaret used to support him a lot, which was very good, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think we'll go back to these days.
Yeah.
Question here about apprenticeships. Would you reckon that youngsters better to go straight from school to an apprenticeship or to do general fashion first?
It would be good to do general fashion first, just to get used to a machine, a foundation course to find out what area they'd like to work in, whether it's men's, women's, full tailoring or designing. You need to do that foundation. It's the best way to find out. And you could do that for 1 year or part-time and then go into it, but not straight from school because, health and safety, number one. If you're under 16, you'll definitely not go. Over 18, you would know what you want to do. Yeah.
I was talking to someone today about apprenticeships, and they were saying that these new NI rates and the new minimum wage has adversely affected young people going into any business, whether it's
I know.
restaurants or whatever, because people can't afford to pay for them anymore.
No,
Not
which
a-
is
not a-
not good. Not good.
Charlie, that has been fantastic, and I'm delighted that I invited you to give the Bradford Textile Society lecture. I have loved listening to you. I'm sure the audience has as well. We've still got a full house. Everyone's still listening to what you had to say. And while I still have everyone, I would remind you all, especially the students, the London College of Fashion and the Bradford School of Art, please help the Bradford Textile Society Phoenix project, which is orientated towards youngsters, students, apprentices, young managers. We're looking to set up a WhatsApp team, and Lee and Rebecca are working on this to get everybody working together so we have the new generation coming through, doing what they want to do rather than what we're organising. So if I could encourage you all to try and encourage new members to the Bradford Textile Society, whatever their craft may be. As I mentioned earlier on, we've got weavers, we've got felt makers, we've got sheep societies. It's turning into a fantastic team of people. And the audience tonight has been delightful to see so many people listening to my friend Charlie. Our next lecture is next February the 27th, and we have Simon Cotton. Simon, I hope that the exhibition last weekend went well. Simon has had a book published last Sunday. It was launched last Sunday in Glasgow at the Scottish exhibition, and the book is called The Genesis of Tartan, and they've taken 6 tartans and tell the story of the tartans. So tonight, Charlie, I've worn my suit, my tie, my shirt. Next month, Simon, I'm going to wear my kilt. But unfortunately, because it's Zoom, nobody's going to see it.
Yeah. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for inviting me on. It's very strange not seeing the audience and just talking to you. But thank you all for watching. Thank you.
Thanks again, Charlie. It's been a delight. I've thoroughly enjoyed your talk, as I'm sure everyone else has. Thank you all for attending, and I'm glad you're all enjoying being members of the Bradford Textile Society. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Charlie.
Good night.